Audio Jungle.
Good morning, China. Welcome to CNN, the Chinese News Network. I'm Tim Hennick, and this is my co-anchor, Jeff Nizwicki.
We've recently celebrated our Chinese New Year going into 2015, the year of the goat. We'd like to start off this morning with a highlight reel of our favorite moments in our great country's last year.
我们即将迎来充满希望的2014年，一元复始，万象更新。在这里，我向全国各族人民，向香港特别行政区同胞和澳门特别行政区同胞，向台湾同胞和海外侨胞，向世界各国和各地区的朋友们，致以新年的祝福。祝福老人们健康，祝福孩子们快乐，祝福每个家庭幸福安康。在这辞旧迎新之际，无数工人、农民、知识分子、干部仍然坚守在工作岗位，不少同胞依然奔波在世界各地，为祖国辛勤工作。许多人民解放军和武警官兵、公安干警正在履行光荣使命，他们有的远离祖国，远离亲人，有的不能回家同家人团聚。我代表祖国和人民，向他们致以诚挚的问候，祝他们平安顺利。2013年，对我们国家和人民来说，是很不平凡的一年。我们共同战胜了各种困难和挑战，取得了新的显著成就。成绩来之不易，凝聚了大家的心血和汗水。我向大家表示衷心的感谢。2013年，我们对全面深化改革做出了总体部署，共同描绘了未来发展的宏伟蓝图。2014年，我们将在改革的道路上迈出新的步伐。我们推进改革的根本目的是要让国家变得更加富强，让社会变得更加公平正义，让人民生活得更加美好。改革是需要我们共同为之奋斗的伟大事业，需要付出辛勤的努力，一分耕耘一分收获。在改革开放的伟大实践中，我们已经创造了无数辉煌。我坚信，中国人民必将创造出新的辉煌。宇宙浩瀚，星汉灿烂，70多亿人共同生活在我们这个星球上，应该守望相助，同舟共济，共同发展。中国人民追寻实现中华民族伟大复兴的中国梦，也祝愿各国人民能够实现自己的梦想。我真诚希望世界各国人民在实现各自梦想的过程中，相互理解，相互帮助，努力把我们赖以生存的地球建设成为共同的美好家园。生活总是充满希望的，成功总是属于积极进取、不懈追求的人们。我们在前进的道路上还会遇到各种风险和挑战，让老百姓过上更加幸福的生活，还有大量工作要做。我们要谦虚谨慎，艰苦奋斗，共同谱写伟大祖国发展的时代新篇章。谢谢大家。
Welcome to Let's Travel China's 5-day virtual tour of the magic and beauty of China. For centuries, Chinese legends hinted at the existence of ancient dynasties occupying China's rich river valleys. Archaeologists have now confirmed those tales to be true. With a history spanning over 9,000 years, China presents the oldest continuous civilization on Earth. Although scholars can spend a lifetime studying this fascinating civilization, our visit will last but a few minutes. So let's pack our bags and begin day one of our journey. A look into the history of China through the eyes of its current capital of Beijing and its former capital, Xi'an. Within the heart of Beijing rises the magnificent Forbidden City, the largest government complex on Earth. Deep within the city's massive walls stands the Hall of Supreme Harmony, site of the enthronement of emperors. 24 emperors have ruled the kingdom from the Forbidden City, their gates of power, and the almost 9,000 rooms that comprise the city, fiercely guarded by Chinese lions. Emperors did not just rule. At the Temple of Heaven, they performed priestly duties, including seasonal sacrifices and prayers for bountiful harvests. This elaborate temple points to the sky, its golden finial marking the center of the universe. Morning exercise comes with colorful flags. And elsewhere in Beijing, the afternoon may bring a pedicab ride through a charming Hutong neighborhood. An evening may include a night at the opera, the world-famous Beijing Opera. The Great Wall of China, the world's longest man-made structure, travels a portion of its 4,000-mile length just north of Beijing. Although ultimately failing as a line of defense, the wall survives as a testament to China's desire to protect and preserve its history. Let's travel west to the ancient city of Xi'an, home to the Terracotta Warriors. For no fewer than 11 dynasties spanning 4,000 years, Xi'an was China's capital. Interestingly, it was one of the shortest-lived of those dynasties that produced one of the most amazing archaeological discoveries of all time: a life-size army built of clay, complete with soldiers, infantrymen, horses, and carriages, thousands of them buried to protect an emperor's tomb. Let's move on to day 2 of our virtual tour, a sampling of China's most remarkable scenery, a look at the Li River and Zhuozhaigu. The Li River and its surrounding landscapes has been the muse for millennia of Chinese artists, poets, and philosophers. Born of an ancient seabed, pushed up by tectonic forces and worn down by the forces of nature, this magnificent region is held in hushed reverence by all who have witnessed it. Just a few miles from the Li River, at Longjitishan, farmers, not forces of nature, have modified the landscapes. In these mountains, the climate and plentiful water favored rice growing. The terrain did not. So rice paddies were built, some over 700 years old. Nature's hand, however, is clearly visible at Zhuozhaigu, China's most treasured national park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The park includes exotic, calcified limestone pools, slow-moving crystal-clear streams, broad crashing waterfalls, and peaceful lakes, reflecting rugged, snow-capped peaks. And if you travel with us deep into China's bamboo forests, you may come face to face with its most famous inhabitant, the giant panda. Giant pandas are picky eaters. Bamboo is just about all they'll consume. And although they eat just once a day, that mealtime can last between 12 to 16 hours, during which these big bears can put away up to 40 pounds of bamboo. Thanks to preservation efforts, the population of these lovable creatures has recently stabilized. Yet, the fragility of their natural habitat, the bamboo forest, keeps the giant panda on the endangered species list. Let's move on to day 3 of our journey, entirely devoted to the mysticism of China. Welcome to Tibet. Are shimmering palaces, once the residences of Dalai Lamas, and monasteries, still home to orange-robed Buddhist monks. Monks, whose unassuming lives still include long, clockwise circuits that travel by sacred prayer wheels, which they spin as they pass. Each year, thousands of devout Buddhists make their pilgrimage to Tibet. Following in the footsteps of the monks, they also quietly walk the prayer circuits. Before departing, some leave colorful prayer flags atop the hills and rooftops. And in the distance, far beyond the flags, looms the tallest of the tall, Mount Everest. At over 29,000 feet, this massive peak is still growing, adding about a centimeter in height each year. Also indigenous to Tibet is the Tibetan Mastiff, one of the rarest breeds of dogs in the world. On first sight, Marco Polo described the dog as tall as a donkey with a voice like a lion. Tibetan Mastiffs are well known for their intelligence, strength, fierce loyalty, and protective instincts. Also of note, the children of Tibet. They represent just one of China's 55 ethnic minority groups. Let's now move on to day 4 of our journey, which takes us from the mountains of Tibet to a cultural site of China, the magnificent gardens in Suzhou. For centuries, Suzhou epitomized Chinese culture because it was here where the silk industry thrived. Over 1,000 years ago, silk, spun by silkworms, processed by laborers, crafted by highly skilled artisans, eventually found its way to Persian kings and Roman emperors. The secrets of silk manufacture became fiercely protected. Even Marco Polo's writings commented on this, noting that the penalty for revealing any element of its production was death. With the secrets of silk preserved, local merchants became famously wealthy, building elaborate mansions set among quiet, private gardens. Today, our tour visits those same mansions and gardens, offering a welcoming, serene sanctuary and a moment to pause at a fish pond or a place in the shade to feel the breeze and listen. And finally, our 5-day tour concludes in a modern setting, the city of Shanghai, only an hour away from Suzhou, but worlds apart. Here, along the banks of the Huangpu River, rises tomorrow's China. As the nation's most populous, most fast-paced city, Shanghai is also China's commercial center, and its shopping center as well. And while Beijing has its opera, and Suzhou its silk, Shanghai boasts its world-famous acrobatic troupe. From thousands of applicants, only 25 are chosen to perform, pulling from a repertoire that includes umbrella foot juggling, chair balancing, catapulting, and plate spinning. Each show presents a unique, upbeat, and dazzling mix of athletics and aesthetics. Our 5-day virtual tour comes to a close as we leave the skyscrapers of Shanghai behind. This was just a tasting of the marvels and endless beauty China has to offer. We hope you will join us soon on one of our real excursions. Till then, happy travels from all of us at Let's Travel China.
Well, the video really goes to show you how great of a year we've had in China.
Now, to continue your morning, we're going to cut to our on-the-field correspondent in traffic, Jake Butler. Jake, you there? Can you hear us?
Hello, this is Jake, your on-the-field correspondent, talking about traffic. We're going to go on the streets today to find some people and have them state their opinions about it. Let's go. Sir, can you please Sir, come here for a second. Sir, what are your opinions as a blind Chinese man about traffic?
I can't see.
Alright. What else?
I'm legally blind. I can see barely. I cannot see the cars. The smog is bad. It's a terrible life.
No, but what do you believe the solution is?
God.
So is that all you have to say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for your time, sir. Sir, You can move along now.
We're sure he's okay. He should be fine. I don't think that car actually hit him.
We're just going to move on to our next segment now, and we're going to talk about the air pollution levels and the lack of regulations in this fine country of China.
With that story, we're going to cut to our environmental correspondent, Josh Wyatt. He has that story and he's ready.
Pollution is an incredibly important problem in China today. It is transforming one of the biggest health and environmental problems. China alone burns 47% of the world's coal. It's nearly equal to the rest of the world combined. The Air Quality Index is a rating of how clear the air is, on a scale of 0 being the best and 500 to you better stay inside. On January 12th last year in China, the AQI reached a rating of 886. Any rating above 300 is technically deemed unsafe to breathe. Reports of the pollution are as far as widespread as being seen in Los Angeles. The yearly death rate for the pollution is 300,000, and it's only getting much worse.
Thank you, Josh, for that informative piece on environmental instability and air pollution.
Our next segment is going to be on the protests that are currently happening in Hong Kong.
There's a lot of Chinese mainlanders coming in and shopping in Hong Kong and distorting the local economy, causing a lot of problems, and Matt Riggins is on that, so we're going to cut to him right now.
Last Sunday, the third protest in Hong Kong occurred as an attempt to rid Chinese mainlanders from their district. Due to the mainlander shopping sprees, the local economy has become distorted and then quickly plummeted, causing many local businesses to become bankrupt. In the protest, 38 people were arrested, one including a 10-year-old child, while 10 officers were injured in the brawl.
Thank you, Matt, for that terrible, terrible protest for pro-democracy.
And into our next segment, we have Chef Bruce with us on our staff, and he will be showing you a delicious meal of pork fried rice.
Good afternoon, and I'd like to welcome you all to our cooking segment of our newscast. And today we're going to prepare one of the traditional meals that we have in China, and that is pork fried rice. So to start off today, the ingredients I will be using are, of course, pork, rice, eggs, various seasonings, and various traditional sauces. So the first step in preparing fried rice is you need to boil the rice. The most effective way to do this is to add in your seasonings while it's boiling, so that way the flavor transfers all throughout the rice and really gets that nice flavor deep into the rice.
Is the most important ingredient.
So the next step is to cut the meat into bite-sized portions. You just take a knife, clean hands of course. Cut through the meat, you gotta separate it carefully. Then make sure it's big enough, little kids can eat it, not choke, that'd be bad.
Not if you have two.
Now we'll be testing the eggs to see which ones are good to use in the cooking.
Okay, so now we have our rice done, completed. We can now start with the actual cooking of the fried rice. So first thing we need to do, we need to pan fry the pork, so that way it cooks all the way through before adding any rice. So first thing you need to have some butter so that way you have some oil for the meat to cook in. And then we'll let that simmer, let that cook a little bit, and then we'll put in some egg so that way we it helps keep the rice and everything all together. And then we'll finish it up, we'll bring it back when we have more on this. Now we have the pork cooked, so now we need to add the eggs. So for this, we're going to add about 3 eggs for the amount of food that we're cooking. Okay, so now the eggs scrambled within the pan, so now we can add the rice. Okay, so now after we added the rice, then we added a seasoning so we can spice up the rice a little bit. So you want to add in some yum yum sauce. Gives a little more flavor to the rice, and on top of that, you want to add in some soy sauce.
Thank you, Bruce, for showing and serving us that delicious meal.
And now time for an exclusive interview with our leader, Xi Jinping.
Okay, now we're going to...
Hi, I'm Colin Hildebottle, and I'm here with Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. Xi, so you have big reform plans for the economy, do you not?
Yes, I have 2 major points that I would like to address in this interview. My first would be to get the government out of resource allocation, and the second would be to make state-owned enterprises more efficient.
Interesting. First point about the removing the government from the resource allocation. Would you describe the changes that will be made in their role?
I have some, 5 to be exact. I have the state will retreat from the rule, but it will retain the 5 that I was talking about before. The first one would be to have macroeconomic management. Second would be to have market regulation. The third would be to have public service delivery. The fourth would be supervision of society. And the fifth would be environmental protection.
Environmental protection? That doesn't seem to be a really big goal of yours right now.
No, you're correct. It's not a major concern at this point. I'd like to focus on some of the other ones first.
Who will decide the allocation of resources? What bodies will be making the decision as to where the resources go?
I'm thinking that the state-owned enterprises and the businesses will.
This leads to the second point, the improved effectiveness of the state-owned enterprises. It has come to my understanding that a majority of the country's debt comes from the state-owned enterprises not creating as much revenue as resources that are invested in them. Would you care to elaborate on this?
Yes, that would be a major focus of reforms we have.
When you say your plans for the state-owned enterprises are not as aggressive as many would expect, not really releasing much hold on them.
Yes, the state will remain in control of the state-owned enterprises because we can have more control and we can better supervise them.
Thus increasing the effectiveness.
Yes.
Very nice. And that hopes to increase the revenue as to lower the national debt.
Yeah, of course.
Well, this has been a very revealing interview with Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party. We now return to the studio.
What an amazing leader of this country. Thank you for that amazing interview, Colin.
And now we're going to lead into another segment. We're going to do 3 minutes. We're going to have a minute for each of us to talk about the one-child policy, the pros and cons of it, our personal opinion, and then our last minute we'll be cutting back to our political correspondent, Colin, for his opinions and ideas. So I'd like to start off with the cons of the one-child policy. I think that it restricts most families to one child. There were statistics that it does only restrict 36%, but I think that's too much. It also is, in my opinion, a restriction of our basic rights. I think as humans we have our own ideas of how many children we want to have, how we would like to treat them, and I think it just should not be controlled by the government.
All right, now I'm going to take over the pros here, and I would like to start off with it limits the population in a vastly overpopulated country. China, with a population of about 1.2 billion and growing every day, needs to be limited in some sorts, mostly because this population consists of vastly poor individuals. It also helps limit the amount of famine that occurs in the country. With less mouths to feed, there's more food to go around. And now we're going to throw it over to our political correspondent, Colin, for his opinion on the issue.
Yep. And Colin, we've got some questions for you. So our first question, Colin, has the one-child policy affected you personally?
No, I seem to be naturally repellent to women.
Well, that's surely unfortunate. For our next question, how would it affect someone in your opinion?
Well, it can be beneficial by lessening the expenses of the parents due to less children, but at the same time, the responsibility falls on that sole child to take care of their kids when they're elderly.
Those are both good points of argument and interest. And our third question, do you personally believe that the government has the right to restrict our birth regulations?
Why, yes. The government, led by the truly righteous Communist Party, decides what is best for our nation and makes the tough choices we can't.
I agree.
So let's just go to the next segment, which will be Mao Zedong's mausoleum.
There's been recent expressed interest from the people that they would possibly want to honor his death in a cremation rather than having a memorial.
We will now throw it over to Matt for more information on the topic.
Today I stand here at the mausoleum of Mao Zedong. I am ecstatic to be here today to wish Mao a happy belated birthday. Happy 121 years, Mao. You've done much for your country. Now, as you may be aware, Mao wished for his body to be cremated. But I personally enjoy looking at his baby-like waxy complexion. Very beautiful man. That hairline, I think I'll get one very soon. Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you, Matt, for that piece on Mao Zedong and his memorial site. It's a very controversial topic right now.
Yeah, Yes, it really is. Next, we're going to be talking about the current day conflicts between Taiwan, China, and Hong Kong and China.
During the Chinese Civil War, the Communist Party drove away the pro-nationalist party to the island of Taiwan. Ever since, Taiwan and China have not gotten along, and tensions have been very high. In 1970, Hong Kong was established by the Chinese government, and ever since it has become a global leader in economics for its city. Ranking 5th on the Global Cities Index, which measures the power of a city, it is one of the world's most laissez-faire economic cities, and in 2012, the Hong Kong dollar was recorded as the 12th most traded currency in the world. Recently, Hong Kong and China have had some disagreements on whether Hong Kong should be sovereign or not. China is very wealthy because of the city, and because of this, I don't believe that Hong Kong will become sovereign anytime soon.
Thank you, Jake, for that very informative piece on China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan.
And off to Colin with a segment on migration and the roaming population between urban and rural areas.
In recent years, China has been faced with an internal migration issue. Among the 250 million internal immigrants, 160 million of them are without household registration and are effectively illegal aliens in their own country. The migration patterns are primarily from rural to urban areas, with much of this floating population moving towards China's eastern seaboard area with the industrial sites. Little has been done for this population, as they suffer from high HIV rates, illiteracy rates, and crime. This crisis has been exacerbated by an outdated household policy known as hukou. It was instituted by Mao in 1958 and classifies citizens as either rural or urban. When a rural citizen moves to an urban area, they are deemed an illegal alien and are denied any welfare privileges associated with citizenship. This policy has worsened the conditions for those living in the floating population. Whether any changes will be made to this addressing the growing issue, it is questionable, so we will simply have to wait and see.
And thank you, Colin, for that very close-to-home piece on migration.
And we're going to send it over to Matt Riggins now, who has a piece on the elderly population growth and how it's affecting China today.
From 2000 to modern years, China's elderly population has been on a steady rise. This influx is a direct result of the one-child policy, an effort to restrict the country's booming population. There are currently over 130 million elderly citizens, making up approximately 10% of the population. Predictions have this targeted population increasing up to as much as 342 million within a 20-year span. At the same time, social services for the elderly do not meet the demands of their vast population. The decline in social service provisions and the increase in the number of elderly residents can only worsen the current situation. It is up to our nation's leaders to find a solution to this rapidly developing problem.
And thank you, Matt, for that very interesting piece on fossils.
And from all of us at CNN, partnered with World News 7, we'd like to thank you for watching our morning broadcast. Stay classy, China.
Breaking news!
Hey, don't hit me.
Why are you touching me?
Ow!
You go into the ground.
Ow.
You go into the ground.
Ow! I'm gonna punch you. Take it.
You're going
Take
into
it.
the ground.
Take
This is
it.
the ground.
Take it.
Don't stop hitting me.
Take it.
Please.
Ow!
I need backup.
Good hair.
I need backup.
Oh my God.
There's a policewoman
Ow.
coming.
Oh,
The
oh,
whirlwind
here comes-
technique.
Here comes
She's
Tay
using
Lang.
a-
Oh, Tay Lang.
Show Tay
Oh.
Lang. Tay Lang. Show her who's boss.
Oh my
Tay
God.
Lang, do something.
She's got her.
Tay Lang, thank you. Tay Lang, break it up.
Thank you.
Tay Lang, look at her hair. She has my hair, Tay Lang.
I'm gonna hit her again.
Tay Lang, let go of my hair.
Hey,
I got her hair,
ow.
Tay Lang. I got her hair. Tay Lang. Tay Lang, you're the nation's
true hero. China!
Forevermore.